The winter wind cut through the empty streets of Cleveland, Ohio. On the night, a baby girl was left at the door of a small foster home called St. Mary's Haven. It was nearly midnight when Margaret Ellis, the head caretaker, heard the sound, soft crying outside the porch. She opened the door and found a baby wrapped in a hospital blanket, trembling in the cold. Taped to the blanket was a small note. It read only, "We can't keep her." Margaret's eyes filled with tears. She had seen it before. Babies abandoned because their parents wanted a boy. She held the baby close and whispered, "Don't you worry, sweetheart. You're safe now. You'll never be alone again." She named her Lily. Lily grew up inside the walls of St. Mary's Haven. She never knew what it felt like to have a mother or father, but she had other things, books, love, and a deep sense of loneliness she never shared. She was quiet, observant, and full of questions. When other kids fought, she made peace. When a new child arrived crying, Lily would sit beside them and say softly, "You're home now. It's not so bad here." Margaret used to say, "Lily, you have an old soul in a young heart." And she was right. Even as a child, Lily carried something heavy inside, a wound shaped like her parents' absence. Every Christmas, the kids got letters from Santa, written by local families who donated gifts. Lily never asked for toys. She always wrote one thing: "I just want to know who left me." Margaret never had the heart to tell her the truth, that most of the abandoned babies came with fake names, fake addresses, and no trail to follow. Still, Lily hoped. Every birthday, she'd stand at the gate of the home, watching cars pass, hoping someone might stop. No one ever did. When she turned 16, Lily asked Margaret, "Do you think my parents ever think about me?" Margaret looked at her gently. "Maybe, but sometimes people only regret what they did when they're too old to fix it." Lily nodded. "Then I'll make sure they remember me when it's too late." That quiet promise buried itself deep in her soul. By 18, Lily aged out of foster care. The system would usually push kids into survival mode, cheap jobs, temporary housing, or worse. But Lily refused to be another lost story. She earned a scholarship to study social work at Ohio State University. Her motivation was simple: no child should ever feel like she did. During college, she volunteered at shelters, children's hospitals, and youth homes. Everywhere she went, she saw the same pain. Kids forgotten, thrown away, waiting for someone to care. That's when Lily decided what she'd do with her life. She wouldn't chase her parents. She'd build something bigger, a safe place for every child the world didn't want. 5 years later, she returned to Cleveland and founded her own nonprofit, New Dawn Shelter. It began small: one building, a handful of volunteers, and a big dream. But Lily had something most people didn't: fire. She could talk donors into caring, convince officials to help, and comfort a crying child in the same breath. Within a few years, New Dawn grew into one of the most respected youth organizations in the state. The media loved her story. Former foster girl builds home for abandoned kids. People called her the girl who turned pain into purpose. But Lily knew her past wasn't done with her yet. One evening, while sorting old files for a donation drive, one of her volunteers, Eric, found something unusual: an old folder from St. Mary's Haven with Lily's name. "Hey, Lily," he said, "I think this one's about you." She opened it casually and froze. Inside was a hospital discharge slip from 1998. The space for parents was faintly filled with 2 names: Michael and Donna Reynolds. Address: Shaker Heights, Cleveland. Lily's hands began to shake. "Is that?" Eric asked. "It's nothing," she whispered, closing the file. But her mind was already racing. That night, she sat alone in her office, staring at those names. Michael and Donna Reynolds. She typed them into Google. Within seconds, photos appeared. An older couple, smiling, well-dressed. Local business owners, community donors, childless. Lily stared at the screen. Her throat tightened. She whispered, "You left me, and you lived like nothing happened." Memories flooded back. The cold porch, the empty birthdays, the promise she made as a teenager. She could almost hear her younger self say it again. "I'll make sure they remember me when it's too late." And now, maybe that time had come. The next week, she drove to Shaker Heights. It was a quiet, wealthy suburb. Large houses, clean streets, perfect lawns. She stopped outside one, the same address from the file. Through the open garage door, she saw an older man struggling to carry groceries. A woman came to help him, scolding playfully. Michael and Donna Reynolds, her parents. She sat in the car, gripping the steering wheel. Her heart raced between rage and heartbreak. She could have stepped out, could have shouted, could have told them who she was. But something stopped her. They looked old, comfortable, untouched by regret. She didn't want to confront them yet. She wanted fate to bring them to her, on her terms. Before driving away, she whispered, "One day you'll come to me for help and I'll be waiting." 3 years later, that day arrived. The New Dawn shelter had grown into a regional network. Hundreds of kids were under its care, and Lily was now a well-known name in the nonprofit world. One afternoon, her secretary buzzed the intercom. "Lily, there's an older couple in the lobby asking to see you. They said they need emergency housing." Lily didn't look up from her files. "Names?" "Michael and Donna Reynolds." Her pen fell from her hand. For a long moment, Lily couldn't move. Her pen lay on the desk, the ink bleeding into the wood. Her mind echoed those two names over and over again. Michael and Donna Reynolds. The same people who left her at a foster home's doorstep were now sitting in her lobby, asking her for help. The irony was too sharp to breathe through. She looked at the clock. 3:12 p.m. Outside her office door, she could hear soft murmurs, the voices of old people, polite, weary, uncertain. "Send them in," Lily said finally, her tone calm but low. The door opened and her assistant guided them inside. The couple entered slowly, their faces lined with age and struggle. Michael Reynolds, once a confident businessman from the photos she'd seen online, now looked smaller, thinner, almost frail. He walked with a cane. Donna's once styled hair was streaked with gray, her eyes tired but still sharp. They smiled politely, unaware of the storm sitting across the desk from them. "Thank you for seeing us, Miss Lily, right?" Michael said. "Yes," she replied softly. "Please sit down." They sat looking around the clean, warm office. A photo of smiling children hung on the wall behind. Lily, under the logo New Dawn Shelter. "We heard this place helps people who've lost everything," Donna began, her voice trembling slightly. We've fallen on hard times," Michael added. "Our business closed 2 years ago. Our home was repossessed last month. We've been staying with friends, but we can't anymore." Lily nodded, keeping her face composed. "I see," she said quietly. "And you're looking for temporary housing?" Donna said. "Just until we get back on our feet. We can do chores, anything." Lily leaned back in her chair, studying them. They were broken, desperate, but still proud enough to pretend they weren't. "Do you have children?" she asked. The question hit them like a gust of cold air. Donna's eyes fell. Michael looked away. "No," he said after a pause. We never had kids. We tried, but it wasn't meant to be." Lily's fingers tightened around the edge of the desk. She wanted to scream, lies, cowards, but her face stayed calm. "I understand," she said, forcing a faint smile. "We have a space available in one of our housing wings. It's for seniors who have nowhere to go." "Oh, that's wonderful," Donna said quickly, relief flooding her face. Thank you so much." Lily nodded. "We'll arrange it immediately. My staff will guide you to your room." She watched them leave her office, leaning on each other, grateful, unaware. The door closed softly behind them, and Lily sat still for a long time. Her heartbeat was loud in the silence. She turned toward the window, watching the gray sky outside, and whispered, "Welcome home. Mom, Dad." Over the next few days, the couple settled into the shelter. They didn't recognize her. Maybe because 25 years had turned that abandoned baby into a confident, composed woman. They often passed her in the hallways, always polite, always thankful. Sometimes Lily caught them talking to other residents, telling stories about their past life, their business loss, how God had a plan for everyone. She wanted to laugh. Yes, God had a plan, and this was it. But revenge wasn't about shouting. It was about letting truth echo. One evening, Lily walked through the shelter's senior wing. She stopped at the door of the couple's new room. Small but comfortable, with clean sheets and warm light. A handmade wooden sign hung outside. Section B, Abandoned Seniors. Her staff used those labels to separate groups. Homeless, medical needs, abandoned. But tonight she stopped, looking at the sign, and whispered, "Not yet." She took the sign off the wall. Not yet. In the following weeks, Lily's assistant, Eric, noticed something strange. "You've been checking on that new couple a lot," he said one morning. "You know them?" "No," Lily replied. "Just something about them feels familiar." "They said they had no family," Eric added. "Sad, huh?" "Yes," she said. "Very sad." She smiled slightly, the kind of smile that hides a war. A month later, the Reynolds began volunteering at the shelter kitchen, helping prepare meals for kids. Lily often watched from her office window. Donna serving food to the children, Michael telling jokes to make them laugh. The sight should have softened her. But instead, it burned. "You can care now," she muttered to herself, "but you couldn't care then." Still she waited. Revenge, she knew, was like fire. Burn too early and it goes out. Burn slow and it consumes everything. One morning during a staff meeting, Eric entered the room carrying a sealed envelope. "This came for you, Lily, from a private legal office." She opened it and froze. Inside was a photocopy of a 1998 hospital record. St. Mary's Haven Orphanage. Abandoned infant Lily Reynolds. Her full name. How the law firm found it, she didn't know. Maybe an old record was being archived. But now the proof sat in her hands. Proof that Michael and Donna Reynolds were indeed her biological parents. She looked at the letterhead again. The same names. The same address she'd seen years ago. There was no longer any doubt. They had abandoned her, and now they were living under her roof. That night, Lily walked down the quiet hallway to the seniors' wing. The air smelled faintly of soup and disinfectant. Through the half-open door of room 204, she saw them, Michael sitting by the bed, reading an old Bible, Donna knitting beside him. For a moment she almost felt pity. Almost. Then she remembered the note. "We can't keep her." The freezing night, the loneliness, the ache of not being wanted. She stepped back, looked at the empty wall outside their door, and hung a new sign, one she had printed that afternoon. Section B, abandoned. The next morning, when the couple walked out, they stopped. Donna read the sign slowly. "Abandoned?" she murmured. "That's a cruel word, isn't it?" Michael sighed. "I guess it's what happens to people like us, left behind." Lily, walking down the hall, overheard. She stopped beside them, smiling politely. "Words have power," she said. "Sometimes they remind us of things we'd rather forget." They nodded, not understanding the storm behind her calm tone. As they walked away, Lily whispered under her breath, "Good, remember it." Rain washed over the Cleveland skyline that night, a silver sheet sliding down the windows of New Dawn Shelter. Inside, the halls glowed with the soft hum of fluorescent light. The world was asleep, except Lily. She sat alone in her office, the yellow lamp casting half shadows across a spread of papers, hospital records, orphanage logs, a faded baby photo with a tag reading Reynolds female, 99 tick. Her fingers brushed the image. The tiny face stared back, eyes closed, cheeks round and peaceful. She whispered, "You grew up, little one. They'll know it soon." For years, Lily had built her life on compassion, saving others because no one had saved her. But now, compassion was turning into justice, not the kind that screams in anger, but the kind that makes people face themselves, a whisper in the hall. The next morning, the shelter buzzed with routine. Breakfast trays, laundry carts, children laughing. In the kitchen, Donna Reynolds hummed softly as she stirred oatmeal for the kids. Eric, the young volunteer supervisor, entered with a clipboard. "Morning, Mrs. Reynolds," he said cheerfully. "The kids love your cooking." Donna smiled. "It feels good to be useful again. I used to cook for my family all the time." "You have kids?" Eric asked casually. She froze. No, not anymore. We never had any." Her voice cracked just slightly, but Eric didn't miss it. "Oh, I'm sorry." "Don't be," she said quickly. "Some stories are better left untold." He nodded, but the look on her face, some strange mix of guilt and fear, stuck with him. Later that day, Eric dropped a report on Lily's desk. "Quick question, boss," he said. "That couple, Michael and Donna Reynolds, didn't you once mention your birth records had the same last name?" Lily's pen paused mid-signature. "Maybe. Why?" "Just strange coincidence," he shrugged. Same city, same age range. And you kind of look like Mrs. Reynolds when she was younger. There's a photo of her in their file. They had to submit IDs. Her stomach tightened. That won't be necessary, Eric, she said calmly. Coincidences happen. Let's focus on the shelter accounts. He left, but suspicion lingered in his eyes. When the door closed, Lily leaned back, her heartbeat thundering. The truth was crawling closer on its own. The photograph. That evening, Lily made her nightly rounds. As she passed through the senior wing, she heard laughter coming from the common room. Her parents, still unaware, were sitting with some of the children, telling stories. Michael was showing them a worn leather wallet filled with old photos. This was me and Donna when we first got married, he chuckled. And this, well, that's our old house. A little girl asked innocently, Do you have any pictures of your kids? There was silence. Donna hesitated, then pulled out a small, crumpled baby photo. Lily froze. It was the same one she'd found in her file, the same one from the orphanage record. She was someone we lost, Donna said softly. It's complicated. The girl tilted her head. You mean she died? Donna looked down. No, she whispered. She was taken from us. Lily felt her chest burn. Lies. You left me. She turned away quickly, her eyes glassy, her steps quickening down the hall. The file. 2 days later, Eric knocked on Lily's office door, holding a folder. Lily, I think you need to see this, he said quietly. Inside was a printed copy of the Reynolds background check, routine paperwork every resident signed. Under emergency contact, Donna had written, No living family. But in the attached documents, Eric had added something new, a scanned article from a $2,000 Cleveland newspaper titled, Business couple faces backlash after abandoning infant. The headline hit like lightning. There was no doubt now. Their secret had once made the news, and had long been buried. Eric looked uneasy. Lily, you're that child, aren't you? She didn't answer. You have to tell them. No, she said coldly. Not yet. They'll find out when they're meant to. Her eyes turned toward the hallway. Justice doesn't need a stage, Eric. It just needs timing. The revelation. That weekend, the shelter hosted its annual charity dinner. Local donors, volunteers, and residents gathered in the hall decorated with banners reading, Every soul deserves a home. Lily stood at the podium, delivering her speech. Her parents sat in the front row, smiling proudly like parents watching their daughter succeed. Except they didn't know she was their daughter. We help the abandoned, Lily said, her voice steady. Because abandonment isn't just about losing shelter. It's about losing faith in love. But sometimes, fate gives us a second chance, to make those who left us see what they threw away. Her eyes locked onto Michael and Donna. They froze, confused. The audience clapped, unaware of the tension slicing through the air. After the speech, Lily approached them. You both must have seen a lot in life, she said softly. So much to lose, so much to regret. Donna smiled awkwardly. Yes, dear. Life teaches you lessons, doesn't it? It does, Lily said. Especially when the past comes knocking. The truth surfaces. That night, Eric couldn't take it anymore. He cornered the couple in the hallway. You need to talk to Lily, he said. About your daughter. Michael frowned. What about her? Because she is her. Lily Reynolds, the baby you left at St. Mary's. Donna went pale. What did you say? Eric stepped back, realizing he'd said too much, and left them standing there, shocked, trembling. Donna turned to Michael, voice shaking. It can't be. She's alive. Michael swallowed hard. And she's been helping us? They hurried to Lily's office. She was waiting, almost as if she knew they'd come. The confrontation. You knew, Donna whispered. You knew who we were all along. Lily didn't deny it. Yes, she said. From the first day you walked through that door. Michael's voice broke. Lily, we were young, scared. I lost my job, your mother was sick. Stop, she said sharply. You weren't scared. You were ashamed. You wanted a son, and when I wasn't one, you threw me away. Tears rolled down Donna's face. We never stopped thinking about you. Really? Lily snapped. Because I stopped thinking about you years ago. That's how I survived. They stood silent, the weight of decades pressing between them. Finally, Lily rose, walked to the window, and said quietly, You came here looking for shelter. You'll have it. But look around. The sign outside your room? Abandoned section. That's where you belong. Where you put me. Her voice hardened. You'll live out your days here, eating the food of the child you left behind. Every kindness you get will remind you of what you denied. Donna fell to her knees, sobbing. Lily, please, forgive us. But Lily only whispered, forgiveness is a luxury the abandoned can't always afford. She walked past them and closed the door. Outside, thunder cracked again, the same storm that had once echoed the night she was left in the cold. Now she was no longer the child left behind. She was the one holding the keys. The storm that night didn't stop for hours. Rain slapped the shelter windows like a memory that refused to fade. Inside, Lily sat in her office, staring at the flickering light of a single candle. The confrontation with her parents replayed in her mind, every word echoing, every tear burning deeper. Forgiveness is a luxury the abandoned can't afford. She had meant it. At least she thought she had. But now, alone in the quiet, her heart trembled with the question she'd spent her whole life avoiding. What does revenge really heal? The aftermath. The next morning, the shelter was unusually quiet. Word had spread. Not the full truth, but enough for whispers. Eric avoided Lily's eyes. The staff looked nervous. Even the children sensed something heavy in the air. Michael and Donna Reynolds didn't leave their room for 2 days. They barely ate. When Lily walked the halls, she could feel their silence behind every closed door. Part of her wanted that. To see them suffer. To let them feel, even for a moment, what she had felt for years. To let them feel, even for a moment, what she had felt for years. But every night, as she looked out over the shelter courtyard, filled with laughing, broken, hopeful souls, something inside her started to twist. They had come to her house of compassion, and she had turned it into a prison. The mirror moment. 3 days later, Lily joined the children for breakfast. One little boy, James, a quiet 8-year-old whose mother had left him at a gas station, looked up at her and said, "Miss Lily, are you okay?" She smiled weakly. "Why do you ask? You look like you're mad at somebody." She laughed softly. "Maybe I am." James poked his spoon into his cereal and said, "When I get mad at my mom for leaving, I talk to her picture. Then I don't feel mad anymore." Lily froze. "Does it help?" He nodded. "A little." Later, in her office, she opened her desk drawer and pulled out the old baby photo again. She set it beside her own reflection in the dark. Window and 2 versions of the same person, one broken, one powerful. For the first time, the power didn't feel satisfying. It felt hollow. Eric's confrontation. That evening, Eric knocked on her door. "You've barely slept," he said. "You need rest?" "I'm fine." "No, you're not." He stepped closer, his tone turning firm. "Lily, you've done incredible things here. You've saved hundreds of people. But this, keeping them here like punishment, it's not you." She turned sharply. "You think I should forgive them? After what they did?" "I think forgiveness isn't for them," he said. "It's for you." She looked away. "They took my childhood," she whispered. "They made me believe I wasn't enough to be loved." Eric's voice softened. "And yet, you built a home for people who feel exactly like you did. That's who you are, Lily, not someone who traps old ghosts." She didn't reply, but his words lingered long after he left. Donna's collapse. The next morning, chaos broke out. A resident rushed into Lily's office. "It's Mrs. Reynolds, and she's collapsed." Lily ran through the hall, heart pounding. She found Donna lying on the floor of the common room, gasping weakly as Michael held her hand. "She hasn't eaten in days," one nurse said. Her blood pressure's crashing. Lily knelt beside her. "Get the ambulance," she ordered. Donna's eyes fluttered open, her voice faint. "Lily, I'm sorry." Lily's throat tightened. "Save your strength. No, please listen." Tears slipped down Donna's cheeks. "We were wrong. Every day since that night I saw your face. I wanted to go back, but I was too ashamed. When we came here, it felt like God was giving us a chance to see you again, even if we didn't know it was you." Lily's hand trembled as she held her mother's cold fingers. "Don't call yourself that," Lily whispered. "You don't have to forgive me," Donna gasped. "Just don't hate yourself like we did." The medics arrived and lifted her onto the stretcher. Michael followed, limping, broken. As they disappeared through the door, Lily stood frozen, the hallway spinning around her. She had dreamed of this day her whole life. The moment they would beg for forgiveness. The moment she could stand tall and refuse it. But now, faced with their fragility, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like grief. The hospital visit. That night, Lily drove to Cleveland General Hospital. Donna lay in a quiet room, tubes attached, her breathing shallow. Michael sat beside her, head bowed. He looked up when Lily entered. His eyes were red. "She's been asking for you," he said hoarsely. Lily hesitated, then stepped closer. Donna turned weakly, her eyes glistening. "I didn't think I'd ever see you again," she whispered. Lily swallowed hard. "You did see me in every day. You just didn't recognize me." A faint smile touched Donna's lips. "You became something good, better than we ever were." Lily looked at her for a long time. The woman who had once chosen to leave her, now reduced to trembling fragility. For the first time, she didn't see a monster. She saw a human being, broken, flawed, full of regret. Tears burned her eyes. She didn't know if they were for her lost childhood, or for the mother she almost never knew. A different kind of justice. Days passed. Donna slowly recovered, though she remained weak. Michael spent every moment by her side. Lily visited often, quietly, without anger, without pity. One afternoon, she brought a folded piece of paper and placed it on Michael's lap. "What's this?" he asked. "Transfer papers," Lily said. "You're both free to move to one of our smaller housing units, near the lake. It's peaceful there." Michael looked stunned. "You'd still help us?" "Yes," she said. "But not because you deserve it. Because I need to be done carrying this weight." He nodded slowly, tears forming. "We don't deserve your kindness." "You don't," she said quietly. "But I'm giving it anyway. Because the girl you left behind, she's tired of living in revenge." Letting go. Weeks later, the Reynolds moved to the lakeside unit. They lived quietly, helping at the community garden, rarely speaking of the past. Lily visited once a week. Their conversations were short, polite, distant, but there was peace in that distance. One evening, as the sun set over Lake Erie, Donna whispered, "You've grown into everything we should have been." Lily looked at her, and for the first time, she didn't feel anger. Just sorrow and release. "Goodbye, Mom," she said softly. "I forgive you. Not for you, for me." The abandoned section, renamed. A month later, Lily walked down the shelter's hallway. The wooden sign outside the seniors' wing still read, Section B, Abandoned. She paused, pulled out a new plaque from her bag, and replaced it. The new one read, Section B, Second Chances. She stepped back, her reflection glowing faintly in the polished letters. For the first time, she felt free. The air over Lake Erie was calm that morning. The water shimmered gold under the rising sun, gentle waves whispering against the wooden dock. Lily stood there, her hair dancing in the wind, a letter clutched in her hand, written in the careful, fragile handwriting of Donna Reynolds. It had arrived 2 days earlier, delivered by a volunteer from the lakeside unit. She had known it was coming. What she didn't know was whether she was ready to read it. She unfolded the paper slowly. The letter. "My dearest Lily, if you are reading this, I may no longer be here. The doctors told me my heart is weaker than before, but I didn't tell you, because I didn't want pity. I wanted peace. You have every right to hate me. You have every right to never forgive us. But I need you to know the truth, not as an excuse, but as a confession. When you were born, I was only 22. Your father wanted a son. I wanted a child. But when the doctor told us we had a girl, I saw disappointment in his eyes and fear in mine. We were drowning in debt. Our families refused to help, and we thought giving you away would give you a better chance. We told ourselves it was mercy. It wasn't. It was cowardice. For years I dreamed of you, wondered if you were warm, if someone tucked you in at night. When I walked past schools and saw little girls with their parents, I saw your face in all of them, and every time it hurt a little more. When we arrived at your shelter, I didn't recognize you. How could I? You had grown into everything I once hoped you'd be. Strong, kind, fearless. When you looked at me that first day, I felt something familiar, a pain I couldn't name. Now I know it was a mother recognizing her child's silence. You gave us a place when we had none. Even when you hated us, you gave us shelter. You've done more good for us than we ever did for you. And that is your victory, Lily. Not revenge, grace. If I could go back, I would hold you and never let go. But since I can't, I'll leave this world knowing you found the strength to do what I couldn't. To love without condition. Love always. Mom. By the time Lily reached the last word, her tears had blurred the ink. She stood there trembling, the lake breeze drying her face as she folded the letter back carefully. For years she had chased justice, but forgiveness, unexpected, undeserved, had found her instead. The funeral. 2 weeks later, a small ceremony was held at the lakeside chapel. Donna's coffin rested beneath a willow tree, its leaves swaying gently in the breeze. There were only a few attendees: Michael, Lily, and a handful of shelter volunteers. Michael's face was pale, grief hollowing him out. After the service, he approached Lily slowly. "She wanted me to give you this," he said, handing her a small locket. Inside was a faded photo, Donna holding baby, Lily in the hospital, both smiling. "We kept it all these years," he whispered. "I told myself I'd earn the right to give it back one day. I never did." Lily closed her hand around the locket. "You still can, not through words, through how you live now." Michael nodded silently, tears streaming down his cheeks. Months later, spring arrived in Cleveland, painting the city with new color. The shelter buzzed with energy again. Kids running, volunteers laughing, hope returning to the air. Lily had thrown herself back into her work, but something inside her had shifted. The anger that once powered her now felt replaced by something quieter, deeper, peace. She often visited the lakeside, bringing flowers to the willow tree. Sometimes she'd sit with Michael, sharing quiet moments. He had begun mentoring the older boys at the shelter, teaching them carpentry and small repairs. It wasn't redemption, but it was purpose. One afternoon, as they watched the children play near the water, Michael said softly, "You know, I used to believe punishment was justice, but now I think real justice is when someone gives you the chance to be better." Lily smiled faintly. Maybe we both had to learn that lesson the hard way. The donation. Later that year, the shelter received an anonymous donation, a large sum of money accompanied by a note that read, "For every child who was ever told they weren't enough, let them know they are." Lily knew immediately who it was from: Michael Reynolds. She didn't reach out to thank him. She didn't need to. Some things are understood without words. The final scene. 5 years later, Cleveland, summer evening. New Dawn Shelter had grown. A new wing stood tall beside the old building, its sign gleaming in the sunset. The Donna Reynolds Center for Abandoned Children. Inside the lobby, a framed plaque read, "In memory of those who made mistakes, and the children who turned them into hope." Lily stood before it, her reflection faint in the glass. Eric approached from behind, smiling. "She'd be proud, you know." Lily nodded. "I think she already is." He handed her a new file. Another baby was dropped off last night. No name, no note. Lily opened the file and looked at the tiny picture inside. A newborn girl. Asleep, innocent. "She deserves a name," Eric said. Lily smiled softly. "Yes, let's call her Grace." Epilogue. That night, Lily walked through the quiet halls of the shelter. Outside each door were the same signs: medical wing, youth dorm, second chances. She stopped by the children's nursery, where the baby named Grace slept peacefully. She leaned down, gently touching the crib rail. "You won't be abandoned," she whispered. "Not while I'm here." As she turned off the light, her eyes fell once more on the sign at the end of the hallway. "Section B, second chances." She smiled. The girl who was once left behind had finally learned to let go. Not by forgetting the past, but by rewriting it. The abandoned had become the savior. The child with no name had built a home where no one would be forgotten again. And somewhere, in the quiet hum of the shelter, she could almost hear her mother's voice, soft, proud, and free. "You did good, Lily."